We're going to deal with the first story. 12 suspects found guilty, sentenced to life imprisonment. I'm going to take the story from the Finder newspaper. And it says here, an Accra High Court has delivered a unanimous verdict finding William Ba, a former assemblyman for Dentra Obuasi, and 11 others guilty of the murder of Major Maxwell Mahama. Now, the convicts were found guilty of abetment to murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and murder following a jury trial. Now, the additional convicts include Bernard Asamoah, alias Daddy, Kofi Nyame, a.k.a. Abortion, Akwesi Boa, Kwame Tufo, Joseph Apia Kubi, Michael Enim, John Bosse, Akwesi Ba, Charles Quinning, Emmanuel Bedu, and Kwejo Enima. And now, however, the court acquitted and discharged Bismarck Donko and Bismarck Abanga of conspiracy to commit the crime of murder after a unanimous not guilty verdict from the 7-member jury. Now, Captain Mahama was lynched by some residents in Dentra Obuasi, in the central region on May 29th, 2017, after being mistaken for an armed robber despite his persistent pleas identifying himself as an officer of the Ghana Armed Forces. Now, let me just start with you, Larry. I am quite sure you covered this story extensively at the time. And what do you make of where we find ourselves now? I mean, it's been 7 years, but I mean, from where I sit, finally, justice has been served.
Thank you, and good morning to our viewers. I think that it's good we are here. Okay, it's rather unfortunate what happened, where an officer of the Ghana Armed Forces, I think at the time he was a captain, isn't it? It was, yes. I mean, the major title came, posthumous. So I recall that day, I mean, I was, after the incident, and I had a lot of videos sent me, but I couldn't connect what exactly it was until, you know, somebody, I think a news item was written about it, and then I discovered that, oh, this is what had happened. And it had happened within hours, you know, some 2 hours earlier. To a point where he was pleading that, listen, I am not an armed robber. I am not this, I am not that, I am not that. But yet nobody was ready to listen. At all. I mean, it's quite striking that the assemblyman in that area had also been convicted. Assemblymen are supposed to be the leaders
of the community.
Let's say political leaders, so-called, of a certain defined area.
Yes.
Now, so you needed to show leadership at that particular time. Oh, listen, let's listen to the guy. What is that? Who are you? Give us your identity. Is there a way we can cross-check? Even while there, with the people all around, you could call in the police, okay, to come and help you apprehend this man and say that, oh, we thought he's an armed robber, and that, can you help us trace his background? If it's indeed an armed robber, police, take him away.
Exactly.
But if he's not, and he's who he claims he is, then let's find out why he's here. Do you get it? But to have subjected this guy to that level of torture, even from the video, you notice he was running away, and they were, you know, hitting him with cement blocks and stakes, everything that they could gather. In the video, I saw some women, but reading through this, I didn't see any woman as part of this. I think there was one particular video where a woman had, I think it was the one who was packing, you know,
a fire. Lighting a fire. I remember that video.
You get it, but there's no woman in here. And I am a bit uncomfortable.
Even the entire list of 14 that were arrested, there was no woman.
But the video showed women. What happened to them?
I remember.
Okay, what happened to them? Now, listen, let me be blunt with you. I wasn't going to talk about this because the truth about Major Mohammed's murder hasn't really been told. The reason why he was there hasn't been told. Okay? But the story that he was an armed robber,
yeah,
I wish to say it's an afterthought.
I don't understand.
Listen, the people were angry because they felt that a certain galamsey, a certain, a certain
Chinese
mining company had been allowed into the area to do mining, galamsey, and destroy their farms in the process.
Okay.
And destroy their farms in the process. And that they, the indigenous, the real owners of the land, are not allowed to mine.
Okay.
That was the anger.
Okay.
So this gentleman...
Because they were on a galamsey assignment?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Dispatched by the military.
Yes.
He was leading the
as part of a task force.
Yeah, he was leading the detachment that was there. Not a task force. He was there just to give protection to the company. They call it Alaska Mining or something. I've written about it. Sorry, the Herald is written about it many times.
So even though they were there as military, it wasn't for the task force that were anti-galamsey mining.
No, it's not anti-galamsey.
Okay.
It was not part of the Galam Stop.
Yes, that's what. Yes.
No, it's not it. It's not it. They were there giving protection to this particular private company, and that was what angered the people. Do you understand? So guess what? Initially, they said he was on. He went jogging. He was jogging and he was wearing jeans and military boots. Okay.
No, but that is normal.
Wait a minute. He was jogging and he was carrying gun.
If you're jogging,
where's the gun?
You typically don't wear jeans.
I don't think at the
Paul,
time.
I'm coming. Paul, I'm coming. Listen to my narrative. He was carrying gun. If you recall, when the wife was reading the tribute, she said that, listen, I have your gun. I'll give it to your children.
Yeah.
Watch that thing very well. The military went there also to collect the gun that the people had taken from him. Okay? Jogging in a boot, jogging in a jeans, jogging carrying gun. There was a third story that said that he went, there was a woman who raised alarm that he is an armed robber. And this woman, he went there to buy snails.
Yeah, he went to buy something.
Yeah, they said he went,
some kind of
so somebody who went jogging went to buy snails. Carrying gun, wearing boots, wearing jeans. Paul.
It seems like the story.
Oh, let's move on. They know the story. The military knows the story. People know the story. This armed robbery thing is an afterthought.
But whatever it is,
where are the women?
Whatever it is, he shouldn't have been lynched.
No, he shouldn't have been lynched. But the fact that the women are not part of this prosecution, when we saw the videos of the women there, are things that you and others will have to ask. Were they deliberately kept away from the prosecution that they might say something that could be indicting? Do you get it? Women were seen in the video.
I saw women in the video.
But see, there's a greater picture of all. There is. If people have been convicted, rightly or wrongly, okay, we should be watch the space. These people might just appeal, and then one after the other, they might be set free.
Really?
Oh, most cases, this is what happens within the criminal, the criminal justice system, where the initial conviction, the initial conviction happens, and after that, state attorneys go to sleep.
Yeah.
And one after the other, all you need is a very good lawyer.
Let me hear Paul's thoughts. Paul.
Thank you, Kweku, and a good morning to our viewers. Kweku, this issue brings some form of relief to the family, so-called. And apologies to their sentiments this morning for more or less revisiting what happened in 2017, May. That same year, June 2017, some 58 persons were arraigned before the court by virtue of what had happened. and then they went through the process. Some were made to go home, and then eventually they settled on some 31 persons who they feel were guilty of the crime.
Yeah.
They went back and forth. The prosecution went back and forth, and at the end of the day, the AG settled on some 14 persons who they feel were the architects of that gruesome murder. Yesterday, we all witnessed what happened at the court. 12 of them were convicted, and as the saying goes, per the maxims of equity, or the paterem autem says that a person who has been convicted of a crime must be heard. And so all of these persons went through the process, and then they were heard.
Yeah.
Some actually confessed to the crime. One actually said that he hit the head of the captain with a brick, and that was only done after he realized that the person was dead. All right. So you join or you piece some of these things together, and then you begin to ask yourself, where did this gentleman go wrong? This was somebody's husband, leading a contingent.
Two kids.
If you even read the report from Professor Frimpong, he stated clearly that they were there to grant protection to a mining company.
Thank you.
All right? And that is what led to his death. Now, let us go into the trial.
Who are the owners of that mining company?
Well, it's a private company. It doesn't belong to the state. The report indicated that they signed an MOU with the military. That's a mining company signed an MOU with the military somewhere in 2016 to be providing security to that company, until the untimely death of the captain. Now, permit me, if you don't mind, so that we can go into the Constitution by way of educating our viewers. If we go to Article 19 of our Constitution, Clause 1 and then Clause 2. Clause 1 says, a person charged with a criminal offense shall be given a fair hearing within a reasonable time by a court. And then I'll go further to read the 2, and then paragraph 2, and then II. Paragraph 2 says, a person charged with a criminal offense shall, II, in the case of life imprisonment, the verdict of the jury shall be such majority as Parliament may by law prescribe. Now, what this means is that they went through the full course of the trial, and the jury presented their verdict. At the end of the day, the 12 persons were found guilty of the crime by a majority decision. So they didn't need to be, say, 1-2 or 1-3 or 3-5, or the majority decided that these persons were guilty. And what were they guilty of? For the murder, 1, and then conspiracy to commit murder. So these were the charges that were leveled against them, and then they went through the full course of the trial. Now, you recall somewhere in 2001, there was this gentleman called Kweku Ninja.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember the
police,
story.
The police guy.
He was training the police, martial arts and what have you.
Yes.
And
was it 2001? It was
2000.
No, much earlier.
Much
In the
earlier?
late 90s.
Oh, okay.
I think it was somewhere 2000.
No, check up.
Anyway.
Okay, maybe we can
Yeah,
cross-check
Ablekuma.
that. Ablekuma issue.
Yeah.
The same incident happened where this gentleman was murdered and even buried.
He and Tola.
Until his body was exhumed, and then they went through whatever, and then the case died off. Today, we are here in 2017. Some, 15 years, 17 years down the line, we still have a mob issue on our hand. So you ask yourself, how long are we going to have mob justice, happening in our country. It was Major Mahama yesterday, could be any of us tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the assumption is that he was a robber, an armed robber who was going around in his boot with his gun. That is an armed robber, and walking freely in the community. I'm not sure any armed robber will ever conceive that notion or thought of walking in the street of a place you want to rob with your gun showing and then in your boot, and even attempting to buy stuff
in the morning.
So sometimes
early morning, isn't
you wonder really what sort of thinking, the kind of thoughts that came, as a result of the prosecution that we have. All right, really, what were they doing there? That bit somehow has been established, that they were manning, better yet, giving protection to a mining company, in that community. And this was a memorandum of understanding signed between that company, that private mining company, and the military. And he happened to be the captain of that contingent. And so to a large extent, I was hoping that where we have an assemblyman, maybe he should have been in the known. But suffice to say that prior to this issue, the community claims that there had been robberies or robbery attacks, within that vicinity.
Yeah, and somebody said, "Oh, that's one of the robbers."
Exactly, and it's the same person who went and then used the block or the brick to hit his head when, quote and unquote, yes, he was assumed to be dead. I don't know which doctor, as it were, pronounced him dead, but to them, per their own judgment, the gentleman was dead. And so he just went ahead to hit him with the block. So the pieces just don't add up somehow. But you see, those who were made to go home, especially with the women, we all saw the videos. Come on, let's all be honest to ourselves. There were women who were vehemently involved in the act.
Yeah.
And so we're even asking, if you have women at the forefront leading mob justice, then where are we going as a nation? All right, so I think that as a nation, we need to do more. Yes, I know the NCC has been going around educating Ghanaians, informing them of their rights and then their responsibilities, the need not to, as it were, lynch people and all of that when they are involved in crimes. But to what extent has that gone? We need to be serious about some of these things.
Yeah.
All right? Mob justice is not the way forward. The way forward, being an assemblyman, you should have led the charge. Take the gentleman to the police station, let the police confirm whether he is a criminal or not.
Yeah.
You have absolutely no right whatsoever to take a person's life just because you assume that he is this or he is that.
Okay.
And the earlier we situate this in that proper context, the better for all of us as a nation.
All right.
I was happy this morning when you were giving it to the GRA chief.
It's more the deputy minister that I was upset with, because I don't know why she should tell us that.
Such
his
a
age is
ridiculous
personal.
statement.
But my friend OPK was also out there defending the GRA boss.
The CEO.
Anyway. But the company involved is called
CJ Alaska.
C&J
Alaska.
Yes.
Donald Etua.
Yeah, Donald Etua is known to almost everybody.
They were cited in the prof's report as
You know
well.
what? We'll wrap up this conversation. Let me just give you a quote from the Herald on the line, and there's a quote here that says that this is according to Professor Frimpong Boateng's report, Major Mahama was killed while providing security for Donald Ensua and his C&J Alaska. In his words, many Ghanaians will remember the C&J Alaska, a mining company co-owned by Donald Ensua and a Canadian national, Simon Ayman, that caused a lot of destruction in the town known as Dentra Obuase, that is near Diaso. Okay, you want to wrap it up for us?
Okay, so we went through an almost 7-year trial. Just like we always say, the wheels of justice grind slowly. And I believe that the family in particular will be happy upon hearing of this news, that 12 of them have been convicted. But I'm not sure it should end there. Further investigations ought to be carried so that we get to the bottom of this, the real bottom of this, because like we indicated earlier, we saw some women at the forefront of this barbaric act.
Yeah.
And I am not saying that because they are women, no. But a crime...
Everybody who's involved needs to pay the price.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a crime doesn't have gender in there.
Yeah.
Whether you are a male or female, whether you are whoever.
Yeah.
And so they must be dealt with according to the law.
And I find it interesting that it doesn't seem as though the men on trial gave up their women.
Well, the records will show. The records
that
of
is what I'm
proceedings
saying.
will show
So,
whether or not that happened. But you see, as an investigator, an investigator, because there's an investigation, and then the document is handed over to a prosecutor,
right,
and then for the court and then for the court process to begin. You get it. So, what was the nature of the investigation?
Yeah.
As Paul said, well, if I were a family member, I'll obviously be happy that some people have been prosecuted and jailed. Okay, from the story, they haven't even been jailed yet, have they?
Not yet.
Well, to the extent that
the sentence has been handed down, so that's it.
Oh, okay, they have.
It's been handed down.
Okay,
they've been sentenced.
Okay, so then, well, I'll be happy, sort of. However, there's a larger, from the video that we all saw, we saw others in there. The people were more than how many?
58.
About 50,
Yes.
50 something.
So a lot of them.
58 of them
And
were.
what is striking is the involvement of,
the women,
who are not there.
Yeah.
Where he went to buy the snail, if indeed there was a snail. Who saw the gun? Okay, who alerted people that, hey, armed robber.
Yes.
Then the assembly member and all the others got involved. Who, used the brick to hit his head. Who actually lit, they even poured petrol or something on him. Okay?
There was some kind of accelerant that was used
Do you
setting
understand?
him ablaze.
And I'm saying that we cannot ignore the role of Alaska in there. We cannot, ignore the role of the military in that area. We cannot, ignore the menace of Galamsey in all of this. And like you rightly pointed out, the professor came out to say that, do you know something? The man was here doing this. And he had signed an MOU. Do you know what it means that your military and not the Ministry of Defense goes into a business arrangement with a private mining company and sends soldiers down there to protect that private company? The interest of that.
Please wrap it up for me.
C&J Alaska.
Yeah.
And the people got angry. They couldn't, the prosecutors or the government couldn't have gone with that narrative that, listen, this is what happened. So then they will go with the claim that an armed robber had been lynched and that they mistook the guy for an armed robber. He was not mistaken for an armed robber. It's an afterthought.